One Watertown resident says that drivers need to pump the brakes while driving city streets. 7 News reporter Gage Kilborn tells us one city council member agrees.
Some Watertown residents say drivers are treating residential streets like the fast lane, going 10 to 20 miles per hour over the speed limit.
In the morning, you could be fine with everybody gone, but starting like late afternoon when the kids get home from school and if they have to walk, that's sometimes where I feel like they're a little bit in trouble.
On roads like Thompson Boulevard, where there are no speed limit signs and police are not typically looking for speeders, some residents say it creates a dangerous situation for people living on the road. One Thompson Boulevard resident recently wrote a letter to the city council, raising their concerns. It got the attention of city council member Cliff Olney.
With people speeding in the city, it's not just about getting a ticket, it's about saving people's lives.
Olney has been talking with the city council about adding speed limit signs and radar signs throughout the city, similar to the ones on Washington Street. He encourages concerned residents to publicly express their thoughts to the council.
Our biggest source of information is the public, and if they speak out and they see that something can be done, they're going to stand up and speak out more. That's how we can change things in this city, by doing simply that, speaking out.
Olney hopes that drivers will be more alert with their surroundings to prevent any future accidents. Gage Kilborn, 7 News.